Alright guys, welcome to this new video. I hope the audio is okay because I have to have this window open here a tiny bit for the second cam. But as you can see, we're not in the MRS, we're in a different car. This is a Mazda RX-8, as you probably might have seen in the title and the thumbnail and nearly everywhere. But yeah, today we're going to do a little, or I wanted to do a little review of the car and compare it a little bit to the MRS. I mean, I don't have too much reference to other cars. I mean, the only car that I've driven, like on the Touge or yeah, in general, really is the MRS mostly. So yeah, but the goal of this video was to feel if how this car compares with driving performance and also driving fun on curvy roads in comparison to the MRS, because it's a similar, affordable, I would say, car in a similar price range, and also like performance-wise, it's yeah, the same region. I mean, this is the 192 PS, I think is something with 190 horsepower or something version of the RX-8. There is also a 225, something around 220 I think it was, two-rotor version. There's also a two-rotor. If you're not too familiar with the RX-8, this is a Wankel powered two-rotor. I think you could translate it to 1.3 liter, but yeah, you don't measure the volume of these engines really. So yeah, it's a pretty yeah, impressive number for power per volume. So yeah, these are quite fun to drive. This one revs nearly 7.5 grand, so that's pretty cool. I think the 220 horsepower version all revs out all the way to 8, or I think 8.5 or something. So it's really enjoyable driving these cars because it drives completely different. The engine characteristic is so cool to drive. I mean, alone the how responsive the gas is. I mean, if I try to downshift, it's so fast and responsive, and the exhaust sounds incredible. This has a aftermarket muffler on it. By the way, this is my brother's car, so thank you for letting me borrow it. This has just an aftermarket muffler in the back, and else completely stock exhaust, and it sounds so good. You might have already seen some driving and sound clips, so you will know what I'm talking about. But that's what I really love. The engine sound is so unique and so different. It's really it's so enjoyable to drive. You know, it starts raining, but that won't stop us. So yeah, what I've noticed already from the driving feel is that the car really feels kind of heavier. I mean, it is heavier. I don't have the real number in my mind right now, but I will insert it after I do some research. So yeah, it really feels heavier. You can notice that first of all, and then also the second thing I noticed in comparison to the MRS, who has I would say pretty direct steering for like a normal yeah, roadster, and this has a slightly slower steering rack, or yeah, so. But it's not super slow, but it's a tiny bit slower than the one on the MRS, the steering on the MRS. So yeah, that's one thing. But then the car, maybe that's due to the weight, but listen to the sound. might be able to tell from my facial expression, but I really love the way the car sounds. So yeah, but where did I stop? Yeah, the car feels way more planted than the MRS. My MRS with stock suspension, apart from some lowering springs, really like has a lot of body roll with the stock sway bars. So yeah, when you get in the corner, you really feel the car like, yeah, tilting in the corner. But with the RX-8, this one also has stock suspension with just lowering springs, just like my MRS. So it's a good comparison, but it feels a lot more planted. I don't know if it has less body roll, but it feels like it. So the next aspect is that the car feels so much bigger. I think the RX-8 isn't that of a huge car, that huge of a car, but it feels so way bigger. The hood is very longer than you expect it to be from your side. But yeah, just gotta take that corner. It feels very big in comparison to the MRS, obviously. Maybe if you've driven BMW M3 series or something, in comparison it would be maybe similar, I don't know, but in comparison to the MRS it feels a lot bigger, a lot heavier. But I have to say, from the of course I won't be pushing the car too much because it's not my car, and from what I've experienced, it still feels like it has a lot of grip. I mean, these are Hankook Ventus V12 Evo, like sports tires. So good tires, but no real comparison to the to the 200 treadwear that I run on the MRS. So but it does feel like it has quite decent grip. It's not so, maybe that's also due to the weight of the car. It feels, I think, planted. What I've said before is the good word to describe how it feels. It's, yeah, it has quite a lot of grip, and also to the power, you really have to rev the engine out. Without revving the engine out, it's okay, but if we go down to second gear, I don't know how the 220 horsepower version feels or drives, but yeah, this does feel pretty decent. We also, or my brother and me, we also don't know if this really still has the 192 horsepower, because as you might know, these engines yeah, wear quite fast. So yeah, with the compression, which gets lower over the lifetime of the engine, yeah, also the power goes down. So we don't know for sure. This one starts up very easily. It has absolutely zero cold start or warm start issues that a lot of the RX-8s have when they lose compression. So I would say this engine feels very how do you say, yeah, healthy, even though it has 122,000 kilometers right now. The clutch is pretty yeah, not so easy if you don't drive it a lot, but it still has the first engine with 120,000 kilometers, which is decently impressive, because mostly they get rebuilt earlier than that, but yeah, the previous owner that had the car really looked after it very good, so could be the reason that this engine is still as healthy as it is right now, so, or as it feels. Let's go to our little Touge track here. Obviously it's a lot more practical car than the MRS. It has a decently spaced trunk, and you can yeah, transport 4 people, so that's a good thing. So yeah, I would really Touge approve this car. It feels great, it feels very planted, even though it feels quite heavy in comparison to the MRS. But I think the MRS is not that good of a comparison to like from the weight feeling of a car. So if you're not used to a light car like the MRS, I think this is very predictable. Also the power is very adequate, so you won't go around the corner, floor it and do a 720 or something, but it still has decent power to if you rev it out, to yeah, also go be good in the hill climb. So, and yeah, so much about the review. Let me know in the comments what you think about the Mazda RX-8, and also maybe if you've driven one, what your experiences are, or what another aspect could be that I maybe didn't cover in that video. And you could also write me in the comments if you like this kind of video, or if you would like to see more of these, because it's quite fun for me to also drive different cars. But for now I think that this will be for some time the only video that I do like that, because I don't have that many cars to yeah, to use in those kind of videos. But yeah, it was still fun to film, and yeah, I would say thanks for watching, and I will see you hopefully in the next video. Bye!